Hi, friends. I am so glad to be here for my first Wednesday Wondering. I am completely experimenting. I'm not a great expert in YouTube technology, but I'm hoping that we can use this time to be together. So I'm going to welcome anybody who wants to say hi in the chat. So I'm Lynn Cox, and I'm a clergy person, and I'm just recently now the interim leader of the Washington Ethical Society. So if there's any West people tuning in or watching later, hi, it's good to have you. And I've been doing interim work for a while now. Wes is my fourth congregation as an intentional interim. And it is about my sixth congregation overall, plus some time I've spent doing hybrid ministry and counseling field work and working for the denomination. So there's just a lot to talk about in the world, a lot to talk about with what Wes might be doing. But today I just wanted to spend some time being together. I thought maybe we would start with a meditation. So if you would join me, sit in a way that's comfortable for your body. If you would like to close your eyes, you can, and you don't have to. You can soften your gaze or keep them wide open. Do what feels comfortable and centering for you. So start with our breath. Just being aware of how air moves in and out of our bodies. Take a breath that's nourishing for you. Let's bring to mind and heart someone that you feel really connected with. Maybe someone close to you, maybe somebody you see every day, maybe somebody you don't see every day, but who's always on your heart. As you breathe in, remember that connection. As you breathe out, hold that person in loving kindness. Maintaining breath that's comfortable and nourishing for you. Think now of someone that you miss, someone that you don't get to speak with as often as you'd like, maybe someone who's died. Breathing in, remember what you've learned from that person. And breathing out, give thanks that your life has touched their lives. I now would invite you to call into mind and heart someone you're connected with who you might be struggling with. Somebody that maybe you're having a disagreement with, maybe someone who reminds you a little bit too much of yourself. Hold in mind and heart someone that you're struggling with. Breathing in, give thanks for what you can learn in that struggle. And breathing out, hold that person in loving kindness. Even when we disagree, we can remember that people are an end in themselves and that people have an opportunity to learn and do better. Hold that person in loving kindness. Next, I'd like us to remember someone that we are grateful for, someone whose service we're grateful for, or just someone who brightens our day. It might be someone we don't even know. But just breathing in, hold that gratitude. And breathing out, hold that person in loving kindness. May they be well. And as we get ready to close our meditation, I'm going to invite you to find a connection with yourself. Find a connection with your values, with your hopes, with who you are in this present moment. you too are worthy of loving kindness. So, breathing in, remember that connection with yourself. Breathing out, remember that you are connected with all that is. And let's hold a few more breaths in silence. Well, I hope that was refreshing for you as it was for me. Um, I was thinking that I would use this Wednesday Wondering series. I'm going to do a 4-part series, so this is part 1. I was thinking that we would use this time for meditations, for reflections. There might be some stories I want to share, either stories from the world or folk stories or something like that. Um, and just see where we can find wisdom or comfort or a challenge to live our values. And today I thought I'd like to talk a little bit about grief, because there just seems to be an upturn in people I know and love who are grieving right now. I think I counted 4 people in my life this week who've lost parents. And over this whole season of COVID, we have lost people to the virus, and we've lost people for other reasons and haven't been able to celebrate their life in the same way because of the virus. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about grief. And if this is you, you're one of those people who's grieving right now, I want to hold you in love too. At the moment of loss, and that moment can stretch out, there's just a lot going on, right? There is this upwelling of love that now doesn't have a place to go in this world. There might be a lot of memories that come up, or there might be memories that you can't quite access. There's a complexity of relationship, right? Because there are important people in our lives who we don't always get along with. There might be unreconciled hurts. And all of that complexity still exists if that person dies, right? So just like the love has nowhere to go, there's then no resolution with that living person that's available. And that can be hard too at the moment of grief. There can be numbness, there can be a lot of uncertainty, and a person can be overwhelmed with details, right? The family of the deceased has a lot to think about, a lot to take care of, just at the moment when they are at their most low resourced. So if it feels safe or possible to drop them off a casserole, we can do that. And if it doesn't, especially in this time of concern about infection, maybe send them a gift card for takeout. Because we want people to be able to focus on what's most important in that moment of grief. So again, just holding you in loving kindness, because there is a lot. My hope is that those who mourn are surrounded by reminders of love, that they are receiving texts or phone calls if that's what they want, that they're receiving cards, that even if it's hard to reach people right now, that they know that there are others who are thinking of them and sending them loving thoughts. I hope that those who mourn are in contact with people who can help them along the way with sorting out the details, with sorting out their feelings, with letting them know that they are not alone. And it may take some time, but I hope that for those who mourn, their memories bring them comfort, that their memories bring them reminders of lessons, of values that they learned in relationship with the person who died. And sometimes what we learned in relationship with the person who died is that we want to make different choices. But sometimes it's values that they demonstrated, that we see how we too can take up those values and live on with them in our lives. And so, my hope for you is that your memory does that it brings you inspiration and comfort and reminds you of a love that is still real, even if the person you loved has died. I want to kind of widen our circle and remember that there's a lot that we're grieving as a world, right? That I'm thinking of my friends in California who are coping with wildfires. I'm thinking of my friends in Iowa where a derecho has flattened farmland and houses and silos. I'm thinking of loved ones known and unknown in Beirut. I'm thinking of flooding in Sichuan province in China. And I'm thinking still of all who were affected by COVID, all of the healthcare workers, all of the frontline workers, all of the people who have been considered essential and who deserve pay and respect that goes with that essentialness. I'm thinking of those who are ill, those who are long haulers who have been ill for a while. And of course, again, those who mourn. Let's do our best to protect each other. Let's do our best to keep each other's strength up. But I just want to remember that we are all connected, and it can be overwhelming to hold so much. I hope that we can maintain a recognition of the humanity of those who are going through trauma, even though it's a lot. I hope that we can maintain a recognition that all people deserve safety and food and shelter. So, what can we do? Right? That I would say start by feeling your feelings, right? We might need a little bit of distraction. We might need to take a break, put those feelings in a compartment for a minute, and do come back to them. It's not good to numb ourselves to the world. So feel your feelings. Find someone to talk about your feelings with if you can. And find a way to practice generosity and kindness where you are, right? We can't individually put out wildfires or hold back floodwaters, but we can check on our neighbors. If you have means, you can be generous for disaster relief. We can maybe volunteer. There might be ways that we can stay safe and still provide some service in our local community. Because I think that when we're giving back and we're making those connections and staying in relationship, it helps us feel a little less helpless, helps us feel connected with people all around the world who are trying to provide relief and comfort and transformation and make things better. I find that it is an encouraging practice to write to my legislators politely, firmly, with specificity about things that I'd like them to do so that we can make the world better in partnership. So find some way to be active and engaged, to put your kindness into practice. So look for local ways to connect. The last thing I wanted to say today was about what we might do in the coming week, right? What we might do in the coming week to find connection, to reinforce connections. I would like to keep writing postcards and letters, maybe send an actual paper birthday card to somebody. I might have to make one because I don't get out to the store that much to buy birthday cards. But Making cards and sending paper, especially if it's okay if it gets there a few days late, that's okay. But the important thing is that somebody receives that. And by the time they receive it, the whatever fomites will be dormant, so go ahead. It's another way of staying connected because some of us, like evidence to the contrary that I'm sitting here on a screen right now, screens can get to be a bit much. So other ways of reaching out are really helpful. Maybe you want to put a Post-it note on your mailbox so that your postal carrier knows that you're thinking about them and holding them in love too. If you have somebody that you have a okay to text or okay to call relationship with, but you haven't in a while, give that a try. See what might come of just a hi, how are you? What communities are you part of? If you're viewing from Wes, there's lots of ways to engage. If you have an interest or you're a fan of a particular kind of media, how can you connect with others who share your interest? Because I think even in these difficult times, we do want to put our kindness into action, and we also want to remember that we are human beings, right? We are human beings who like to cultivate love and beauty that strengthens us for the work, and a lot of times that is the work, right? Beauty reminds us that there is something worth preserving, and often beauty gives us ideas about how to do that. So find a way to connect, notice beauty, maybe create some beauty in whatever way that works for you. It doesn't, the product isn't important. The process of engagement is important. So I hope that works for you. So I had planned about that's about all I had planned in terms of what I have to offer you. I didn't know if there would be people online who wanted to keep the conversation going. I'm planning to be on for half an hour today and next week, Wednesday, and the 2 Wednesday mornings following, and then we'll see how it goes. And if it takes off, we could do more of this, and if it doesn't, we'll find other ways to engage. Because my hope is that we can be creative, right? My worry is that if we run out of creative ways to connect, if we run out of ways to stay mindful of the ways that we're connected to others, the ways that we're responsible to others, that um, we will not make responsible choices, right? It is really hard to maintain social distancing. And in some cases that's not possible, right? That, like I mentioned, the frontline workers, right? That some of us just in our vocations cannot be as safe as we might like to be. Some of us had caregiving responsibilities, and a lot of people are needing to make compromises just for survival, right? They have to organize into pods or collectives for childcare because it's really hard to maintain employment when it's not safe to send your children to school in person. So we're all doing the best we can, and um, just our stamina for doing things differently might wear thin. And so I'd like us to be creative in ways to connect so that we can keep looking for ways to be as safe as we can be, to keep our neighbors as safe as we can, to be as responsible and we can in our choices, while also being human, also creating beauty and strengthening friendships and maintaining engaged in activism. There is still a lot to advocate for in the world that needs voices and hands and feet. It's a long road. The last year really feels like more than a year, and I think the next month and a half, 2 months, are gonna feel like a lot more than that. So the things that spark joy, the things that, renew our spirits, those things are important. And I'd like to hear more from you about what you're doing to be creative and to find beauty and to stay engaged and to connect with others. I hope that we can talk some more about your ideas and about what you're finding. I hope you can tell me more about the opportunities that you found this week for kindness and for connection. In particular, maybe you have a special talent that helps you with kindness and connection. I have a lot of friends who are fiber artists, knitters and crocheters and quilters, and I have friends who do amazing things with paper and friends who do stained glass and friends who make an art out of asking other people how they are. So I'll be curious what your creative way is of finding connection and creating beauty. I think that having conversations about it also reminds us to do it, right? Like I can remember that I enjoy certain things and was like, oh, yes, I should do that. So maybe next week I'll say, oh, yes, I remembered. I wanted to show you. In our family, this week it's gardening week. We've been trying to have sort of like themes to break up a long summer of all of us being together. So this is the week that I am recruiting my children to help me more in the garden. Um, and so I don't know if they're learning any skills, but I think they're learning that gardening takes effort. But we have had fun so far. We've planted some things. We've harvested some amazing things. I'm hoping with maybe if it stops raining tomorrow, we can do some things with support, right? All living things need support. In particular, my pea plants that are coming up need support. So I'm hoping we can work together on that. And so maybe next week I'll have a chance to show you a little bit of what we've been working on. YouTube doesn't want me to live stream from mobile, so I will, I guess, have to take you out in the garden, or maybe I'll just show you pictures. What about you? What's growing in your world? In addition to growing a garden on purpose, we've been a little bit lax about our little patch of grass this summer. And so we have ended up with more clover than we might normally have. And what that's meant is that we have seen a lot more rabbits. So I wonder what kind of unexpected surprises you're finding too. Well, I think I'm going to close. So thanks for joining me, or thanks for watching later if that's what you're doing. And I hope that next week you can check in and tell me what kinds of ways you found to connect and to create beauty. So I hope to see you then. Bye.